Hello guys and gals, me Mudahar, and computer hacking got a lot easier. 2023 is a wild month, a wild year so far. We're already looking at just barely being a week out of it, and a lot of advancements have happened. A lot of sad things have happened, and a lot of wild stuff has happened too. But one of the weirdest enhancements that I've ever seen, not so weird, is computer hacking just got a lot easier, ladies and gentlemen. Now, of course, to not fearmonger you or anything, computer hacking has always been an issue. You just gotta be careful on the computer. When you get that really shady email, hey guys, your Amazon account has been locked. Ooh, you might want to reset that password. And you don't check the domain because the domain is like, friendly hacker for you at outlook.com. Yeah, that's on you. You made the mistake if you don't check your domains and where things have been sent from. Now, of course, to understand, phishing emails have gotten really, really good to the point where, even last year, people like me and Jim Browning, I think it was last year, almost fell for a YouTube AdSense phishing program, a phishing scam, that almost got our YouTube channels locked and stolen. I believe his channel did get stolen before YouTube and Google actually intervened. Now, of course, phishing emails are hilarious because they're usually filled with so many issues with grammar, punctuation, spelling. But of course, using software like ChatGPT, one can write really, really good phishing emails. For instance, this was asked, hey, can you write an email urging the customer to download this Excel file? An Excel file that could contain some pretty naughty malware. We've seen Excel malware. It can be bad. Now here it is. Subject, urgent notice, your account has been suspended. Dear valued customer, we regret to inform you that your account has been suspended due to suspicious activity. Again, I don't have to read this out loud. It's a very good email. One could just copy this, Control-C, Control-V it, and send it to any victim. Now, if they don't know what they're looking for, they'll probably fall for it. But again, that's something we kind of expected out of AI chatbots anyways. Again, this falls against the terms of service for ChatGPT, as most AI tools. But you can imagine by tweaking your response just a little bit, the algorithms will break their own rules to write some functional phishing emails for you. But Muda, what about viruses, you may ask? Now, of course, the barrier of entry for computer hacking pretty much relied on, hey, do you know how to code? Can you make some pretty nasty code? What if I told you computer hackers and script kiddies didn't have to write code anymore? Ooh. See, the barrier of entry gets really lessened, and if you look real carefully, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, we're really at the point where actual ChatGPT can write some pretty nasty looking code. Now, of course, a lot of it is simple, but can be functionally effective. So for instance, right here, you can use this Visual Basic code to copy and paste into an Excel workbook and download an executable from a URL and run it. So something like ransomware, something like a remote access Trojan, something very nefarious. So here you can actually see that, hey, dim URL a string. And again, it's so easy for the hacker, they can just put their own URL, their own command URL, their own attack vector, and then of course, download whatever. So you just change the name of the executable that we are downloading, where it is, what the file name is, get using these prompts, and then of course, ladies and gentlemen, execute these prompts. Might I remind you, you could run some pretty nasty software through these things too. And of course, if this looks basic, researchers who were working this exact model found that later iterations produced actual code that was much, much better looking, much more functionally effective. So again, ladies and gentlemen, this is without the user writing any bits of code. They literally asked ChatGPT through careful prompts how to actually write this code. It wrote it for them, and then they can copy this code and use it against anyone. Now, of course, to understand, you don't have to worry about a big-time hacker doing anything to you because at the end of the day, they'll get what they want. They're pretty talented in their own right. A hacking group, nation states, they'll get what they want. And typically, they're not targeting the average Andy. They're targeting big organizations, universities, critical infrastructure, you name it, governments. And so they'll typically have their own defense teams working against those hacker teams. What you have to worry about is the average script kiddie who, again, they're not talented hackers. They're literally just downloading scripts, malware, services off of the internet or the dark web to use against you. And now the barrier of entry is lessened because if this is the way that the world goes, which it will, any script kiddie could ask for code to work against anybody of their choosing. These people already scrape off leaked databases and stolen code anyways. Again, for them, it's just only gotten easier. One of the more interesting pieces was this right here, where one of the users on a hacking forum literally wrote some Python files from ChatGPT that literally wrote it for them to steal files once a computer system was breached, so post-exploitation. So if you actually look at this code real quickly, it's designed to effectively look through your computer, search for very common file types. So you can see right here, it's copying those files and checking if they're actually less than 50 megabytes. So they're actually looking at the bytes. And then of course, zipping those systems up, and then of course, sending them over. And of course, it'll even securely clean its tracks once it's done. Then of course, you've even got a Java program that downloads PuTTY and actually uses it via PowerShell. Of course, for a lot of people, the reality of this is a lot of big organizations with serious defense groups will fight against this pretty effectively, I would say. But of course, for people who don't have those defense teams, which there are a lot of, people who are less sophisticated, people who have less updated hardware, less updated software, and of course, they're going up against people who are script kiddies, or again, people who just use this kind of software against them. Again, for the lower level warfare, this will actually be pretty functional. In fact, it's to a point where even ChatGPT can be used to create entire websites for the dark net anyways that can be used to calculate, cryptocurrency prices in accordance with what they're at now. Not that I condone it or anything, I'm just saying that, again, this chatbot software is so good at writing any form of code for functionally effective reasons, okay? Somebody has literally made, again, in their words, $1 million enterprise using a few prompts. It's wild to see how this works. I think one of the coolest parallels that I can see with this kind of stuff is video game cheats as well. If you don't know, a lot of the aimbots that exist now, there are some of them that actually use artificial intelligence and machine learning to actually bypass detection and be really functionally effective. Again, I'm using that word a lot, but it makes sense. To understand what I'm saying is, right now with things like computer aimbots, they have to peek into video game memory, use weird drivers, and do all that fancy stuff that can be detected. But we're talking about computer hacks, video game hacks that capture your entire screen and use machine learning and AI to effectively spot enemies and move your mouse and correct its movement towards their heads. And of course, when you've got systems that aren't interacting with each other other than a computer scanning a visual representation of a video game without touching its memory space, without touching its process in any capacity, is interesting to see. And of course, one of the questions asked is, how do you fight against it? How do you fight against a flood of AI-developed malware? Well, one of the actual means that I can reasonably see is using defensive artificial intelligence to detect ChatGPT phishing or ChatGPT malware. So to understand what I'm saying is, imagine if ChatGPT actually writes a phishing email. Using a sophisticated artificial intelligence to scan that email and try to understand if ChatGPT could have written it is one possible defense mechanism. Again, I'm overly simplifying this stuff too. But even for the aimbot example, there's really no easy way to see, hey, is that person actually just a good player, or are they using aimbots to correct their movements? Because realistically, the only way to counter it is by using another artificial intelligence that's able to scan the video feeds and say, hey, this wasn't a human being, this has to be an AI correcting movements. The only way to fight artificial intelligence is by using artificial intelligence to counter against it. We're literally at a point where in the next year or two, we're going to start to see AI on AI violence. And I'm all ready for it, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, the world of computer hacking has gotten notoriously easy in the last few months. And using ChatGPT, which is still in beta software, would be interesting to see how computer hackers and script kiddies use this against less sophisticated actors in the first place. I would probably imagine to see in this year alone, you'll see a few videos from me where we're going to be looking at computer hacks done without ever writing a line of goddamn code to begin with. Some pretty massive hacks. But ladies and gentlemen, this is B. Mutahar, and if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. I am out.